It was Mitch's birthday today. He was born in 1964. He's 59 today. And look at that. This book has nothing to do with the story outside of the fact that it tells. I have so many books I still need to read. I read this one. Why did I read it? Because I need to know for myself. I've heard these people say, I don't need to know what someone else thinks. And it's like, well, look it up. If you're going to talk that way, you don't need to know what somebody else thinks, yet you have no information about it. I read this book distinctly for the fact that I needed to know what happened with Charles Manson and Sharon Tate. And, well, you know, Roman Polanski, great director, happened to be out of town at the time. Basically, these people needed to attack somebody that, well, it's not what the story's about. This is a book I've already read. I'm putting my books together and I keep them separated from those that I haven't read. And when somebody offers me a new book to read, I say, I got so many already. I'm hesitant to take the book because I got so many that I'm so far behind on. But I also understand that when you get somebody offering you a book, it means you're being led down a path that you can make connections between everything else that's coming around you and those books. That's why I'm so good at healing. It was a mistake. It was just a matter of books coming at me at the same time, and I picked pieces out of them. I took from the fucking Bible in medieval times. Anyway, this book has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I already read this one. But I was out in the world today. It was Mitch's birthday. Happy birthday, Mitch. You're 59. You've only had one stroke and everything's going to be okay. But I was out in the world today. And I always look through the doors of dumpsters. And I saw a dumpster and I looked into it. And there were 2 fucking boxes full of books. What the hell is this? I stopped and I pulled the box out, the first one that I could get a hold of, and I saw books that had fallen into the dumpster. And, you know, people say, hey, oh, wow. They like to make jokes about me being a dumpster diver, but what they don't realize is that in 1986-87 school year, when I was graduating at Gaylord High, I was named All-State for dumpster diving. And I looked and there were books in there. And I said, no, somebody just threw books in a fucking dumpster. And I said, oh. And I pulled this thing of books out. And then I looked and there were others that were falling in there. And I'm like, I looked at the books that I saw. I said, you can't throw those away. I grabbed this one. It's a girl thing. Oh no. Oh no. And it's got little quotes in it that say, after all, Each new day provides an opportunity to start fresh. Is that a Summer Breeze commercial? What do they call it? Got that not so fresh feeling? But it's got a quote by someone that says, "When the sun comes up, I have morals again." And that's so beautiful. And it was by Elaine Boozler. I think she was with Andy Kaufman at one time. But that is every day I start. I say, it's a new day. Maybe we can make it different. And so there are books that you're picking out of this stuff. And I'm looking, and the first thing I thought, which I said again and again and again to everybody throughout the day, was, it's not a crime to throw a book away. It's not a crime to burn a book. And I think that's right. We come up with so many crimes on our own, but what I believe is it's a sin. There's somebody. I've even been out in the world with people that are like, I don't read, but it's a shame to throw these books in the garbage. I don't need anybody to tell me what I think, but I understand that it's wrong to say people can't think the way they have the capacity to think. To be able to find something that fits in your way of thinking and share it with others. I guess that is what they call, let's not go democracy, let's not go Republican, let's go civilization. Anybody that wants to read should have the opportunity to. And that's where all information is lost, is when they take it away. And so then I pulled this stuff out, and there's another one called Outliers. It's about the story of success, but what is an outlier? It's somebody that's 2 standard deviations above the fucking bell curve, or whatever the fuck you call it. So I've got these books down here I have to read, and I'm trying to clear stuff out, make everything okay. But I had a hard time. I'm like, I can't just take all these fucking books. And I pulled these damn things out of the dumpster and I put them on the ground outside. And later on in the day, shortly thereafter, I saw people hoarding over them. And I'm like, what the fuck? There was something for everyone. I mean, it was, look at that. I don't want to say anything. I don't like to use the word dummies when I talk about people. Retards is okay because it's a fact. But dummies, it's just belittling someone. But Roses for Dummies, that was in there. And I'm like, we have roses. We've got Don Juan over there. We've got fucking Pope John Paul II, who came back after a year of being dead. I wouldn't let her make me dig it up and kill it. I'm like, I just like the dead look of Pope John Paul II, the white rose. And then he came back this year. Ta-da! So, as it turns out, I seem to be okay with fucking plants and flowers and such. And then you look and you pull out this book, Signs and Symbols. It's an encyclopedic thing. And look, it's got all these goddamn everything you needed to know if you wanted to study Carl Jung. Oh, probably shouldn't have stalled so long there, but I was surprised to see a naked woman in my fucking book, in my video. Yeah, flowers, sex, infertility, all these things are coming up. And I'm looking, I'm like, this is such a vast array of knowledge. All I can think is that somebody that was pissed off at their lover, who is soon to be their ex-lover, because an ex-lover, oh, you'd never let somebody throw your fucking books away. It was like they showed up and threw it in the dumpster. And I looked at that. I was alone in the morning, and I said, wow, this is beyond a crime. This is beyond a burning. This is a sin. You're taking away all the knowledge they fucking have to offer. And I pulled them out, and I spread them out to where people, when they would come out of the building, when they had their own personal time, would see them. And I came out late and I watched them swarming these books. I'm like, you can't throw a book away. I mean, the very first thing was I pulled out a book called, it had fallen in there. Many of them had just fallen out of the box, and I reached down as I'm finding these things, and I'm like, and I reached down in and I pulled out, and it took me back to being with my dad in my dad's garage, where my dad had all these romance novels that he bought at a goddamn auction sale for $1, like 18 crates of bullshit. He said, you should go out there. You can find something you like. You like to read. And I reached in and I pulled out my second copy of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I bought the first one in China for an exorbitant amount of money over there, but what did I care? It's Chinese money. Cigarette went out. And as I'm considering how much information there is in there, and pleasure and enjoyment for just the average person, and I pull all this fucking shit, this girl comes up, and I happen to be holding my third copy of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey, and I said, holy shit. I reached and I looked at her, and as she's walking up, I said, do you read? And she said, and she got so excited. I didn't know. And she said, I love to read. I said, have you ever read this? And I held the book out to her because I could give it away, because I've got 2 copies of it. And she looked and she said, oh, she got so excited. She said, I've heard about this book. I would love to. And she just snatched it out of my hands. She was so happy. I'd given it to her. And I said, have you seen the movie? She says, no. And I was able to tell her about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, about how it's one of the few movies and books you can read it either way you want. Most movies, you have to watch the movie before you read the book, because the book is so much better. It can get in depth in your fucking mind. But they don't have time in 2 to 3 hours to make a movie that really gets into somebody's mind. And she was just so excited. She'd never done either. And she said, I'm going to read this book and I'm going to watch this movie right now. And I was like, huh. somebody cares as much as I do. It's not a crime, it's a sin. And so I pressed out the books where people would come out and they all went through. There was such a strange amount of stuff. None of it seemed to coalesce. None of it seemed to be connected. But what was connected was the idea that half of the books were gone. By the end of the first break, people swarmed that pile that I made, that I dragged out of the dumpster. And people said, oh, what are you? And I said, well, you have no idea. When I was in high school, yeah, I was all state for dumpster diving. I hate to let anything go. And it was, if I'd have stopped with me when I said I've got too many books to read, just leave them in there, I wouldn't have seen this. It was like fucking Christmas. And I got to use the joke again and again and again. It may not be a crime to throw a book away, but it's a sin, because I know people, they even say, I told you, I have to repeat it. I don't do much reading, but it's a fine thing to be able to share knowledge. And that is the one brother of mine and I, when we were cleaning out after my dad died and all the junk books and all this stuff he had up there, he said, I don't need anybody to tell me what to think. But I find it a shame to throw a book away. And then, as I'm reaching out down into the dumpster, pull the last book out before anybody showed up, and I saw Christmas Day. I got the last one, and it was this guy. And I looked at it, and I said, you know what, you fucking megalomaniac? You're the one telling people to burn their books right now anyway. And I threw it down into the trash. I said, let it be gone. See, it's not a crime. And so I took my civil liberty and I threw away his fucking word. And then in that pile of books where people were scavenging and pulling through them and going crazy, it made me happy to be in a place where people wanted to read. They wanted to read. And there was something for everybody in this thing. There were people reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid that were like, oh, going crazy over it. And there's symbolism. There's all this stuff in here. There's something for everyone. It made me happy. And when I pulled out of this book after throwing this fucker right in the garbage, because he's the reason everybody wants to burn a book. He's part of that. I was happy that there was a second fucking version of the book in there, a different book. And I said, I can use this fucker as a book burning fucking exemplary piece of shit. You want to support this? You support burning books. And so I was happy. I brought it home. And I tell you, I acted like it was Christmas, a birthday to somebody. Everybody came out and acted like it was goddamn Christmas. I've never seen people so happy in my life. They're gonna miss me when I'm gone. However, I get home, I'm looking into talking about this, and I find things, and it's just like finding One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in my dad's pile of fucking shit that he bought from an auction sale for $1. I found this. What is this? What is this? This is when I was in 2nd grade. This is a compilation of all the kids in my grade. Watch, there's not much. All the kids in my grade when I was in 2nd grade, coming up on my 2nd communion. And they made copies, photocopies, ditto copies, whatever the hell they called them back then, of the acts of contrition that we bought. We wrote them ourselves, every kid in the class, before getting our first communion. And there's a book. I can't throw this out. Oh. There's one of the girls I was attracted to. Look at this. Dear God, thank you for me, my family, and all the living creatures. Thank you for the food on our table. Please help me for everything I do. I love you. I will try to be better and help ground the house. And thank you for all the teachers and classmates. Amen. That's what a kid says when they're forced to write a goddamn act of contrition. What you tell when you go in to give confession your very first time before your first communion. You got to give confession before you get communion. And they made us say these things. And I know all these names, all these girls. There's one in here, one of the Townsend girls. She actually, she asked God to help her to quit sinning again. And, well, how's that gone for you? I think it's gone pretty well. You just make them all feel guilty about everything they do. Every one of these. Oh, there she is. I hope I can try to be good and not to sin again. This is a 2nd grade girl. It was the same years that I watched the 2nd graders coming out of church after they took me in 5th grade and made us watch images of abortions, and all the 2nd grader girls were crying. This is what they give us. But I'm looking for mine. Oh my gosh. It's just amazing. I know every one of these people in here. I used to know every one of them in there. They used to like me, but that's part of it, You get to know somebody on a surface area, and you think they're okay. And then as soon as you find out what they are a little bit deeper, you say, go fuck them. You're starting to deal with, what do you call it? Loyalty and pride and just a lack of understanding for yourself and what is going to be around you. But I'm sorry. You have to forgive me. I'm looking for my handwriting. They don't this is the curious thing. These goddamn Catholics don't even know how to, don't even know how to do anything in alphabetical order. They should have put it in alphabetical order. But look, this is the thing I wrote. Let me read the one on the left first. This is the wonderful thing about books, is you can see how different people think differently about things. This one on the left, which is not me, says, "Dear God, I love you, God. I'm thankful for my family, teachers, friends, pets, and for the nice seasons. Thank you for nice school, St. Mary's, and the classmates in my school. I love you, Jesus, and please forgive my sins." You're a goddamn 2-year-old. I made up lies to go through my first confession. I said, yeah, I once tripped my brother. He had a peanut butter sandwich, and I tripped him, and he dropped it, and it fell. They made us fucking lie for our first confession, so then ever after we would feel guilty about lying. We were innocents. We are the children they're trying to fucking keep alive through these pro-life things. And it's all full of shit, really. It's true, these children are innocent. It's just too bad we make them criminals before they've ever fucking done anything, just to keep them in line. Please forgive my sins and for the bad things I have done. Help me like people and help them like me too. Amen. I know that, kid. And so then there's one on my next page. This is me. It says, "Oh God, help me not to get into trouble. Help me not to break my mother's best glasses anymore, but bless the whole world. But most of all, bless my family. Amen." Archie Elderquist. That's all I ask. I put it right out there. You're fucking making a liar out of me. Nobody believed that. Nobody helped me write that. I looked at it and said, just tell them what they want to hear. That you feel bad. This is a book. But the interesting thing about that, this one right here, this guy that just says, burn them all. And I say it's not a crime to throw a book in a dumpster, but it's a fucking sin. I'll deal with the sin later. I dumped that fucker in the dumpster, and that one is going in the fire. That's the guy that wants you to burn your books anyway, but he wants you to buy them?